get the power. All right, thank you. And we will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Aaron Moran,
Here.
Chris Zellner,
Here.
Joe Sitzelsberger,
Here.
Kristen Runge,
Here.
Nyla Fry,
Here.
Jack Heineman,
Here.
Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Next is confirmation of open meeting compliance.
I can confirm that the draft agenda was published in the Waunakee Tribune on 11/14. The final agenda was posted in all 3 official posting locations on 11/12, and the final agenda and packet were made available online on 11/12. Anybody in the audience that would like to make a public comment, please be sure you give me the public comment form. And then also, please sign in for accurate record keeping with your name, address, and municipality.
All right, and do we have anyone who would like to make a comment?
We do. Carol Phelps at 7865 Sagebrush Trail in Middleton.
Hello, I'm here tonight to encourage Waunakee to join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition and to adopt a sustainable Waunakee plan, perhaps even a more ambitious version than has been proposed so far. I'm from a neighboring community, but I have a lot of connection with Waunakee. For many years, I taught summer classes here in Waunakee. Our daughter lives in Waunakee. We go to Waunakee restaurants and attend performances here. We have tickets to the Nutcracker in a few weeks. I've taken Spanish classes here. We sometimes attend church here. I'd like to tell you some of my personal experiences with our changing weather patterns. Living outside of Cross Plains, we experienced the massive flooding there in 2018. We got to see torn up roads, destroyed bridges, railroad tracks hanging in midair, damaged businesses, piles of destroyed carpeting and couches and belongings lining the streets afterwards. If you think your home is safe from flooding because you don't live in a low-lying area or near any streams, think again. We got the joy of sewage flooding our basement because even though we live on top of a hill, the amount of rain came so fast that it flooded our septic tanks and they backed up into our basement. While you may not use what's stored in your basement often, it has some value to you or you wouldn't have kept it. At the time, our basement was storing pretty much everything our daughters owned because they'd gone to work overseas for a while. You've noticed the summer wildfire smoke for a few years now. Now, when the air quality gets bad, they keep summer school kids in from recess, and they cancel even huge Madison events, like the concerts on the square. But soon wildfire smoke and bad air quality will become so normal that we'll just let our kids play soccer regardless. Asthma will be the price kids will pay for playing outdoor sports. And soon it won't be just Canada burning. I suspect that within my lifetime, Wisconsin will be burning. The lakeside cabins we love and the places we hunt and fish, even our towns will be threatened. If it can happen in other states, it can happen here. The weather is full of more and more extremes: heat waves, polar vortex cold snaps, atmospheric rivers, straight line derecho winds, lightning storms without rain. We're having to make up new words for the weather because we've never seen such things before. And it's lengthening allergy season and insect season, making poison ivy worse, making ragweed worse, making Lyme disease more prevalent. My point is, the climate crisis isn't something off in the distant future, which our grandchildren will have to deal with. It's here now. And depending on whether or not we take enough action now, we either gain a lot of advantages, like cleaner air, cleaner water, less traffic noise, cheaper energy, good new jobs, energy that we can make right here in our own state, and a tolerable level of disasters. Or if we close our eyes and don't take action, believing the lies which tell us it can't be fixed or would somehow hurt us to fix it, things could get much, much worse.
Carol, I'm afraid we're at
choices are.
time. Thank you, though, very much. Yeah. Right.
Next up is John Aronica at 1222 Bongard Drive.
Thank you. I'd like to take an opportunity to circle back to this One Energy solar farm project. I think that this project and the way it was handled here in the village is probably one of the biggest debacles that's ever occurred in Waunakee. And at the heart of this debacle is Brian Kleinmeyer. He was the one that started the whole project going with his opinion of moving it from the JPC to the Waunakee board. For that, I'm calling for him to be barred from performing any legal services in the village. Next one, okay, is because of gross incompetence in the way this whole thing was handled, I'd like to call for the resignation of Lauren Friedman. Going a little bit further, I'd like to have the termination of any consulting being done by Tim Sinman, who was also involved in this One Energy project, moving it from the JPC to Waunakee. In addition to that, we requested recusal of Kristen Runge from any involvement in this. Yes, there are two ways of being recused. One is legal and one is voluntary. Voluntary recusal, you only need to have the appearance of a conflict, and you clearly do. Next one is Sam Kaufman. You should resign also. And the reason being is because you seem to get your legal opinions from an attorney who practices family law. Yes, you do, okay? Now, everything that I'm saying here, we have email chains, okay, that we got in open records. So we've seen everything that's been going back and forth. I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I'm speaking for myself, not the over 400 people now that have signed the petition that oppose this project. There's certain people on the board that have been pushing this thing for some reason, and we have yet to get clarity on why you were pushing it. Sam, you consistently said this had to be done legally. We were required to do it. That was gross misinformation that you kept passing on to everyone you spoke to. I spoke to you for about 40 minutes one day, 30 to 40 minutes. And that's what you concluded in our conversation, is that it was something you had to do. When I asked you what your opinion was, it's something we have to do, John. That, okay, and you've said that to probably a half a dozen other people you spoke to. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And for future reference, it's Runge, not Runge. All right, next up.
Linda Ashmore at 114 South Street.
I'm here tonight to ask you to pass the Sustainability Waunakee Plan and also to join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition. I'm a member of the Sustainability Committee, and I'm speaking for myself, even though I'm on the committee. The committee has been meeting for about a year and a half, and it was really the impetus of a high school student who kept showing up at every meeting and doing a public comment and saying, hey, we need future generations to have a world that they can live in. Paraphrasing. And the committee's really taken off. We did a sustainability fair in October. I went to Sun Prairie Sustainability Fair. I was one of the people who staffed the booths at the sustainability fair here. And one of the neat things about going to both of them was you get a lot of exchange of ideas, that you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I really support joining the Local Government Coalition on Climate Change too. There's people who we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's people who are already doing some of the things that we want to do. And as you network, you find out good ways, better ways to do it. So I'm not going to go real long on that. I think Carol Phelps did a really good job of why we need to address climate change. And then the other thing is related to the budget. It's not the heart of the budget. It's just a complement. Because I've been here years ago when the budget was just really hard to understand and get through. And I know there was new software, and it's much, much better. You can actually, the comparison of year by year, and to actually have pulled out, this is the big ticket item for this area, really makes it easier for a regular citizen to understand. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know I'm not supposed to comment, but thank you for the compliment. Staff has worked really hard on the budget, making it understandable.
Robert McPherson at 1703 Alexandria Court.
I don't have any prepared notes tonight. I had written some stuff, but I wanted to really focus once again. As I stated, I'll be coming back every time to keep talking about affordability in the village. That's not going to change tonight. I will say, since to be a little different this time, so I'm not too repetitive, thank you to the at least 2 members of this body that at least deigned to respond to me. The other 5, I was a bit disappointed, couldn't even get an acknowledgement. Of the 2 that did respond, one just said thank you, which is fine. I was on the board before. I understand sometimes all you have time. The other person offered a private meeting, and I will turn that again and say, if we want to have a public hearing about housing affordability within the village, where we have professionals come in. I know one of you knows Kurt Paulson quite well. We could probably get him to come in here and talk about things like that. That I would invite. I don't believe that affordable housing should be a discussion that's relegated to a private meeting between a constituent and the government, because it's not me that particularly will benefit from affordable housing. I'm not a developer. I own my house almost outright at this point. It's not about me. It's about other people. It's about the future of the village. It's about giving people what they need so that they can stay in the village. It's about our senior citizens that are increasingly facing higher tax bills. And it's about our schools that are seeing declining enrollment. It's about our environment. I'm glad to see that the sustainability plan tonight that hopefully gets passed directly addresses density of housing and density of residences. I will once again reiterate that you are not going to accomplish this unless you have meaningful reform of your zoning code. Your zoning code is outdated. It's from the 90s. None of you drive a car from the 90s, not that I believe, and none of you use computers from the 90s. Why would you have a zoning code from the 90s? It's time to get with the times. It's time to put some action behind your words. I'm not signed up to speak at the public hearing for the budget, but I'm just going to say in there, you still have time. You can still dedicate some, through an amendment, you can still dedicate some funds from your affordable housing fund for, work on affordable housing. This doesn't need to just be, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. You can definitely still do things tonight. You have time. I'm not going to stick around. I'm not on the board anymore. I have make dinner for my daughter when she gets back from hockey tonight, so I won't be sticking around to see if you guys do that. But I hope that you at least take this last opportunity that you have to put some funds behind it, take a risk, put an amendment out there. It's okay if you don't get it passed, have the discussion. Doing nothing is not an option. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Anyone
Um,
else?
And I have no other public comment forms, but you all received a written comment from Tom Wilson at 2509 Dublin Way that was asked for you to read.
Review. All right. All right, and he doesn't want us, does he want us to read it out loud? No, okay, just to read. So that'll become a part of the public record, but in summary, he is a member of the Ad Hoc Sustainable Waunakee Committee in support of the plan tonight and expressing that in the letter. So with that, do we have anyone online who would like to make a comment? If you're online and you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand and we will pull you into the meeting.
I do see one participant online, but I don't see a hand raised.
All right. We will move on from public comment then. Next up is consent agenda. And Nyla, I believe you wanted to pull item number 3.
Yes.
Would we like anything else removed or pulled from the consent agenda? If not, do we have?
I'll move approval of the
Thank you.
remainder of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So item number 3, Nyla.
Okay, I had some questions about the amendment to the 2026 fee schedule, and I came in and discussed it with staff, and they looked up the answers for me, which is very helpful. One of my questions was when was the last time that this portion of the fee schedule had been looked at?
Oh, sorry. So the fees have not for the building permits have not been revised for roughly 10 years or more. So this year they went through and did a 2025 study with the Madison Area Builders Association, and staff reviewed those fees in various communities to see where we fall in the market and realized we needed to adjust ours. We also have increasing costs over our hourly rates for general engineering, and therefore we needed to bring our rates up to cover some of those costs. I don't know. You have anything? Okay.
Thank you. One of my concerns is it seems like this was quite a long period of time. And if there's a way that we can make sure that this is looked at more often so that we do not fall so far behind with our fees. And, you know, it's not that we want to make a lot of money from them, but I feel that we should at least try to break even for what it costs us. And another thing I want to mention is, you know, I don't believe in raising fees just for the sake of raising fees, because people who have older homes may want to renovate and update. And if the fees are so high, it may discourage that. So we need a nice balance. So I'm looking for a way to keep this from being such a long time span again.
And I think that's something that I can take on myself, and because we do pass this around to the different staff department heads to review, but we've had some changes in different departments too. So that's definitely on me. I can definitely make sure we get this adjusted each year.
All right.
Does that sound okay?
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? Concerns? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the fee schedule, the 2026 fee schedule, what was not approved before.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, next up then is reports and announcements, Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee.
We are, Vanessa from MSA is doing a presentation tonight to bring together all the work that we've done in the last year and a half. So stay and see what's ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Parks and Rec.
We had a follow-up meeting with some of the folks from the Kilkenny neighborhood pertaining to the Water Wheel Park property. I think we all thought that went very well. We obviously approved the Blue Ridge Park deal earlier. We had a very good discussion. We finally got the skaters from the skate park in that we wanted to actually hear from. So there was a follow-up meeting with the design company to amend the design. So it'd be something that met the needs they wanted, but still contained some updates. And we also have here tonight our new Parks and Rec Director, Mike Axon, who will be starting full-time next Monday.
Hi, Mike. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. All right, next up then, Plan Commission. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Public Works.
Okay. We did not meet in October, but I have a few announcements. First of all, on December 4th from 4:30 to 5:30, we are having an open house pertaining to the 3rd Street 2026 reconstruction of the road. I would also like to thank Kayla Stout, Ryan Endres, Bill Fredericks, and all the staff who worked on the Hometown Heroes banner. It was a huge success, and I think that many veterans felt appreciated, which is wonderful. Also, it's leaf season, as we all know. It's moving along slower than we'd like, but that's due to snow. Also, just so you know, there's a website with an interactive map, so you can see exactly where the leaf pickup is happening. If you check that in the evenings, then you'll have an idea of what progress they're making. So thank you.
And next up, Plan Commission. Plan Commission met. We reviewed a conditional use permit for an airplane hangar at Woodland, or 5968 Woodland Drive, and a garage at 112 or 110, excuse me, Fairview Court. Joint Plan Commission was canceled in November, so no meeting to report from there. I know we've occasionally had questions about where we are in the comp plan. In one of our next 2 meetings, we're going to have the Lakota group visit us with an update on the work that they've been doing. So stay tuned to that. Are they at our December or our January meeting, Lauren?
Believe December.
December, excellent. So our very next Plan Commission meeting. So if you're interested in the comp plan, they have done a ton of research and they're going to be presenting it to us in December. So with that, Joint Plan Commission was canceled, so no report there. On to Community Development Authority. The Community Development Authority met, and our 2 kind of things that we did, we reviewed the new updated marketing material for the Waunakee Affordable Housing Fund, Waunakee Housing Betterment Fund, I'm sorry about that. And if you are in a home that could possibly be eligible, you should have received a really nice mailer about the program. We have gotten a renewed interest in the program, so we're anticipating some more applications over the next couple of months as a result of that that outreach piece. Second thing we did is we had an extended discussion about community land trusts and should we either form our own land trust or become part of the Madison Area Community Land Trust. What might our goals be with regards to affordability for establishing a land trust? And we're going to continue working on that so that we can make sure that we have a really purposeful involvement in the land trust if that's something that we should decide to recommend to the board. Some other things that happened at the CDA, about half of the committee actually went to the Community Land Trust Conference in October to look at that as a model. And again, we've been meeting about that. But I wanted to give a couple of updates during the committee report on kind of the situation that is facing us. WHEDA with an H, Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, had their association had their annual conference this past week, and some of the highlights, just so you understand where we are at a state. On the price per square foot for new construction, as reported by the economists at the WHEDA meeting this past week, is $231 per square foot. That's significantly up over the last 5 years. Inflation has an overall general increase in prices and housing across the state of 16.8%. We're seeing that, though, on the local level quite a bit higher. National construction costs have been up by between 30 and 40%. Depending on which set of numbers you look at from 2020 to 2025. In Wisconsin, the typical unit for an apartment building went from $160,000 in 2020 to $208,000 per unit over that 5-year period. So tiny time period, relatively speaking, for a relatively large increase. Construction costs in Wisconsin have been up by 41% since 2020. And that is driving, when we're looking at LIHTC, low-income housing tax credit projects across the state and apartment complexes across the state, which are the most affordable way of providing homes. That has been driving what development community refers to as an increasingly complex capital stack. One of the projects that we reviewed at WHEDA during some of the sessions went from a capital stack originally of 3 different funders, refers to the number of funders or sources you have for your project, to 20 different funding sources, a combination of grants, TID financing, loans from various banks. All of that complexity is part of what's driving multifamily project costs up. Single family costs are being driven up by a number of other things. Labor wages for the building trades are the highest of all of the growing wage sectors across the nation. And 1 in 4 workers in the building trades are over age 55. So we've been facing an increasing pressure on that workforce. Rising wages are great for a lot of reasons. We're really happy that drywallers and plumbers and electricians are getting the wages they deserve, but they're in short supply, and they're part of their wages are what are causing our houses to cost more. Some of the other things that have happened on the state level, in 2021, the IEBC code changes were adopted, and they require some of the things that we care about really from a sustainability perspective, higher R values in insulation, better window systems, mechanical systems that exchange air more quickly within larger buildings, and that is driving up a significant cost for houses. There's a premium of around $2,700 per apartment unit for every apartment unit that's been built as a result of that. They also cited that there is pent-up demand from COVID that we still haven't caught up with. And if you've been to any of the housing summits that UW Extension has been holding over the course of this past year, you know that we're still behind in construction from the recession. Elmer Moore, the CEO of WHEDA, said that we are 126,000 units behind what we need in Wisconsin. That's around 26,000 in Dane County is the number that I've heard batted around, although I don't have the source for that. One of the things they did point out, we haven't built in housing in large supply since the 1980s. So this idea that we're behind is just more than this last kind of few years. One of the bright spots is that the level of multifamily construction in the last 5 years has been the highest it's been in over 30 years. So we're going to start to hopefully see some sort of pressure alleviated from that. So when we're talking about housing, and the Community Development Authority is looking at how do we fix those issues, and we've got commenters and people writing letters to the editors, just know that this group is working really, really hard on it. But we're facing headwinds at a macroeconomic level that just are stronger than we're able to overcome as a 5-person, 6-person committee. So long report, sorry for that, but wanted to put some context to what we're doing. All right, with that, do we have any other announcements?
We also had an EMS commission
Thank
meeting. We did we spent most of our meeting doing performance review for our director. As I've mentioned earlier, we did a market adjustment for his position earlier this year. So we gave him half a COLA increase or 1.5% while we review him again middle of next year. And we talked again a fair amount about the budget. Basically, when compared with most of our peers, we're in a good place because obviously given the merger study that was talked about and so forth earlier this year, many of those communities are in a position due to their growth where now they're facing a significant cost from having to add additional staff. With the way both our union contract was structured and just where we're at, we're the opposite of that. So we should not have significant increases in that realm, at least from a labor standpoint, for quite some time.
Thank you. Any other committee meetings? Any other announcements? I do have one spontaneous announcement that I think we want to make, or acknowledgement. Sue, tonight is your last meeting here with us as a staff person. It is not? No, all right. I'll hold that then. Thank you. Okay, cool. All right. So with that, possible potential mistake, let's move on to the public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight to discuss and take action on 2026 budget and 5-year equipment replacement plan and set the tax levy for the 2025 tax year. So I believe this is over to you, Renee.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a short PowerPoint presentation and then we can open up the public hearing. Okay, so the slides look somewhat familiar, but there are a few changes on them that we'll go through. So here is the process summary. We're finally in the last section with the required public hearing tonight. And then following that, the board will consider the final budget approval for 2026. We have a little more data from these budgetary unknowns. Just today, I received the Dane County levy, and that was an increase of 6.09%. Things we're still waiting on, though, are the credits, the school property tax credit, the lottery credit, and the first dollar credit. So those are things that actually can bring down people's tax bills. We don't know that information. According to the Department of Revenue calendar, those are supposed to come out on Thursday. So since the last time we met, the tax rates have gone down a little bit further. Not too much, but we'll see on the next slide how it changes on the tax bills. It's kind of easier to see that way. So looking at particularly the bottom line on the slide with the average village home value, at our last meeting, the increase was $99 to that average home. The very first meeting we had, it was $102. So we brought it down about $9 for that average home, which doesn't seem like much. But you know, we had already trimmed a fair amount before we came to our first presentation. So the fact that we could bring it down a little bit more is nice. And so more specifics on what has changed since those first two meetings. I'll just say the bottom line first. It was a net decrease to the tax levy, about $35,000, made up of a couple different things. So we increased the tax levy. We moved, so if you remember in the first presentations, the facilities position was going to be a July 1st hire. We were able to move that up to March 1st. Part of that was assisted by moving the police new hire back to March 1st from the beginning of the year, because that process isn't going to start till January, and it usually takes you know, a month or two to get somebody on board. So we were able to have both of those positions be a March 1st start. And then we added, so back when we had adopted the family reimbursement account, We had to sort of cut it off for people that had been previously waiving health insurance, but we were able to get those people, well, assuming this budget is approved, up to a $3,000 reimbursement. Those people that were waiving before can now join the FRA. And that affects 4 village employees and 1 utility employee that will now get that benefit. A couple things that help facilitate those changes were we had a couple open enrollment flips a little bit, savings there, and just some other tweaks that I made to the payroll budget to make it more accurate as I look back through it. And then Tim Herlitzka reran the utility pilot or payment in lieu of tax calculation based on the updated numbers, and we gained about 30,000 to the budget that we'll get from the utilities. So again, our levy went down. One other thing that is not affecting the levy, but we did have one late staffing request since those earlier meetings, and that is to move the Parks and Rec Assistant Office Manager from a 0.9 FTE to a 1 FTE. So the impact is just under $8,000 for that. And we will be funding that from some projected surplus in the Village Center Fund. So it will not hit the tax levy this year. There will be that impact then in the 2027 budget. And Sue is here if you have any questions on that position.
All right,
But
there we go. I'm sorry.
I'll do a few more slides. I guess we'll take questions at the end if you have any. I think it was Joe that asked at the last meeting a little bit more on the projections within our fund balance policy over the next 5 years. And so I put this little slide together. So as I had stated before, the 2025, we're projecting we're going to end at about 30% of our unassigned fund balance to the next year's expenditure budget. And then I was projecting out 27% for 26. And I kind of neglected to talk about the next 5 years. So we go down to 22% by 2030 in these projections. And the assumptions I used are fairly conservative. That's projecting only a 4% increase in the general fund expenditures. We've recently been higher than that, which actually then lowers the percentage of our fund balance. The higher the expenditures are, that's the denominator. Yeah, the denominator, going back to my math. And then I've projected that we're not going to use very much fund balance in those years. Primarily what's in there right now projected to use is known retirements. And we are using some of the fund balance for that. So hopefully, Joe, this kind of addresses your question on, you know, it seems high at the end of 25, but it's not staying that high over the long haul. A couple more. I just put this slide back in here because one of the actions tonight is to adopt the 5-year equipment replacement plan. The details were again in the packet. Nothing changed on this slide, but I just threw it back in there. And again, the rule of thumb remains the same for a $10,000 change, about $2 for the average home. And then, so after the public hearing, then we'll talk about this action. But happy to answer any questions in the meantime.
Let's go to public hearing and then take questions if that's all right. So with that, let's open the public hearing at 6:34 p.m. Do we have anybody who would like to speak on the budget? It is in person. Anyone online? If you're online and you'd like to comment on the budget, you may raise your hand and we'll bring you into the meeting. All right,
Again, I see one person online, but not a hand raised.
on a hand raise. Oh. Last call, going once, going twice. We will close the hearing at 6:35 PM. So with that, what questions do we have for the budget? Erin, can I start with you?
Yeah, no questions at the moment. I think the increase to 1.0 FTE for that position is appropriate and the memo explained it well. So thanks, Renee, for all of your work.
Thank you, Erin. Sam?
I don't have anything additional beyond what I asked in our last meeting, just reiterating a thanks to our staff for their extensive work, particularly on this budget with having to revise lots of things to keep the increase to taxpayers as minimal as possible.
Great, thank you. Chris?
Just say thank you to everybody involved with this budget process and also to thank you for the work with the CDA. In addressing Robert's comments about affordable housing and what can be done or what can't be done. And we are doing things. They're just not seen as much in the public because people aren't at those meetings participating. And I don't think they're well reported on. So thank you for your summation of what's happening there and the things that are happening. And hopefully we'll see some actual productivity in the near future with that. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Jack?
I just have a comment. Thank you for all the hard work and so forth that everybody's put in to make this budget palatable. I guess one of the concerns I have, and I'll support the new hires and so forth. We're pushing those out in order to capture, some budget so that we can stay, within a range. I guess it's more of a comment. Is what's our challenge then next year? Because we're adding those people and, we have to account for them in the next budget season. So.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we're acutely aware of when we move them away from the beginning of the year. Yeah, sometimes that's just what you got to do, I guess.
What we have done, and if you refer back to the slide deck from, I don't know, it was the last meeting or the meeting before, when we demonstrated the position recommendations, there were notes on those slides that identified each position that had sort of a reverberating effect the following year with the full year impact. I think you called those out, so there were no surprises brought on. We always reiterate that a decision like that, a mid-year hire, is a decision not just made for next year's budget, but the one after. So you're correct, Jack. We could possibly, if you want to know the exact numbers, we could pull up the slides and identify those, but they were explained and discussed in more detail a couple of meetings ago.
Yeah, it's more of a comment.
A reminder, more of a reminder.
More of a reminder because, we are, I don't think situations are going to change. It's just going to get tougher as we move forward, trying to keep things in line.
And we do try and look out 5 years on what our projected hiring needs are. And this was a little bit higher of a year. In a couple of years, it drops back down. So it ends up kind of evening out over time.
Thank you. Thanks for the work.
I'd add that the thoughtful planning that Renee does with Ellers when they do that annual 5-year?
It's 10-year for capital and 5-year for operating.
Right. We build in those staff expectations in that 5-year outlook. And that gets adjusted after the budget decisions are made, and we include that in that analysis, which gets presented each year too. That comes about mid-year or so, maybe September-ish.
Yeah, I think this year was September.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions, Jack? Got it. All right, Joe.
I'll echo the same thanks as everyone else. Renee, I know budget season is always a a very tough one for you, and that's much appreciated, as well as the rest of staff. I know everybody has put a lot of effort into it, and coming up with those numbers and deciding exactly where those dollars get spent is not an easy process. Second thing that I want to talk about a little bit is kind of CDA and getting to what Robert was saying. Is there any benefit that you see or any need from the CDA perspective for us to provide some additional funding where that could either help us get more traction,
Yeah.
get more data, whatever?
Yeah, we just extended a TID, and I believe we have, is it at 1.5 or 1.6, Lauren? And what I'm asking, yeah,
Well, so the CDA has recommended to the board to extend TID 5 for affordable housing, and I think it was, oh yeah, I don't remember the dollar amount. It was at least 750,000. That has not come back to the village board yet for final approval until the CDA was doing a little more of their background work, but that would be in addition to the sort of the pot of money we've had from other TIF extensions, that would add another substantial amount. But we wanted to have a little more of that CDA background research done. I think we're going to bring it to the board in, I think, early January, because
Yeah.
there wasn't like a deadline for that to be extended, or there is a deadline, but it's not forthcoming until March, April timeframe. So
If it's extended, that revenue would be realized when? Would it be the following?
nope, this would be another case where the time it would just be extended for a couple months, and then the money that we collect in January could go immediately into that fund.
26.
Yeah, in 26.
yeah. So, and to answer your question, so we've got this pot of money, it's about 1.5, $1.6 million. And it sounds like a lot of money, but when it comes to housing, we went through a number of different decisions around, do we do a down payment assistance program? That would get us what, we thought maybe 15, 20 homes down payment assistance. And that's one and done. For the most part, you can run it like a revolving loan fund, but it comes around relatively infrequently. We looked at a number of different models, and the one that we found that seems to have the best longevity is a community land trust. But we want to make sure that if we're going to take it, because it's a lot of money for us, right? If we're going to take this, that we're leveraging it in the best way possible. So that's why we're having this longer conversation around, what are we going to do with it? We have talked to the outgoing director of the Madison Area Community Land Trust and one of their primary technical assistance directors. They'll be coming to talk to us in December and January, and reaching out to the Wisconsin Community Land Trust Network to talk about kind of what the successes, or how do we gear this for success. We did talk about LIHTC projects periodically over the last year. That's another way that we could invest the money. We aren't that competitive for most companies. We just don't need the volume of units right now that they can build in Madison proper or Milwaukee, and we don't have the additional elements of a really strong capital stack to be able to be attractive. So that's kind of where we're headed now. But yeah, we'd take any money we can, but right now we're going to see what we can do with that.
Well, and that's a different pool.
Yeah, of money.
Specifically, there's nothing from a budgetary standpoint at this moment that would provide any significant benefit to continuing down that road.
No.
That's going to happen regardless.
It'll happen regardless. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for asking though.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Nyla.
Thanks for your question, Joe. I was going to ask this pretty much the same thing. I thank you, the staff, for all the work you've done. This has been I think a difficult budget for all the department heads. And but I want to bring forth a concern, and I spoke to Kathy Gundrum today from the food pantry. And I do realize that I believe there's something to do with the state that municipalities cannot directly fund food pantries, but I have heard of a few municipalities that are working to find ways to help their food pantry. And I believe Stoughton is one of those communities. And the way that they may be able to help their food pantry is because they own the building that their food pantry is in. And currently the food pantry is leasing that building. And Stoughton, from what I understand, is considering waiving those leasing fees because the needs are so great when it comes to getting people food. The month of October broke all the records that Waunakee has ever seen. You know, we weren't talking about November because November is normally heavy anyway. Last November, they served 884 people. And just to give you an idea where we were last October, last November, this October, we jumped to 1,134 people that were served. 173 of these people were unique cases. I just wanted to bring this forth because in my opinion, and this is my opinion, we are a strong community and we want to remain a strong community. And strong communities take care of the people in those communities. I'm hoping that we can find a way to help the food pantry. A lot of people are struggling, and don't think it's just because of what's been going on with SNAP benefits, because it isn't. There are many families who come to the Waunakee Food Pantry who fall through the cracks. They're not even eligible for SNAP funding or for SNAP card. So I just wanted to bring this up and see if there's anything that this board would be willing to do. Personally, I feel it's a moral obligation. I feel it's a responsibility and I don't take it lightly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyla. If we were to help the food pantry in some way, could we do it out of the budget approval cycle? Could we take it from general fund, or what would our options be? Spontaneous question. I realize.
Yeah, well, their rent is $1,000 a month,
Mhm.
same as the rent for WNC. So am I accurate with that? And we have an existing lease with them. If the board would like that lease brought back for further discussion, that's certainly possible. Would need to be done probably to legally fulfill some different approach to the lease, unless Brian suggests otherwise. But I mean, you do have other resources at your disposal if you wish to support them in other ways related to general fund balance. We've gone there before. And that's the prerogative of the board if you want to find a way to support the food pantry differently.
Yeah.
Brian, I was under the impression that somehow municipalities were not supposed to use money from their general budget to help food pantries. I don't know if that's correct or not. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'd have to research that issue. That's not a
Okay.
question I've looked into before.
And is the question about actually levying to support food pantry or not? I mean, that would be an important differentiator because you have other sources
Okay.
for financially supporting an organization without relying on the levy.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
And I think what you're thinking of is, the county had that issue last year where they had used ARPA fund dollars to fund, I think it was mainly Second Harvest. And the food pantries were upset that that funding was cut off, but I guess there was some statute or law they had to deal with where they could not directly give county money to Second Harvest or whatever food pantries they were giving to.
I think what I might suggest, at least in relation to their request about the lease, Nyla, was the question, were they looking for modification to the lease or were they looking for a different approach to funding support?
I think modification to the lease, because the lease is $1,000 a month and currently they're spending $5,000 a month on food. If they weren't spending that money on the lease, they could be using it toward food.
I certainly believe
If-
$1,000
yeah.
could go a very long
Yeah.
way for the.
Yeah,
way in which
because,
they-
it would be 1/5 of their current bill. You know, I'm not saying that that's what we should do, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective. They've just spent $2,000 on meat and it doesn't go very far at all. So I just wanted to bring these needs up, and I think it's important that we, you know, continue doing things for the residents in Waunakee that we are doing, as well as perhaps stretch a little bit during these really tough times to do things for those who need a little bit of help out right now.
So, but am I correct that the example of not charging for the lease was from Stoughton? And
Yes.
it wasn't a direct request?
No,
from
it's not a
Okay.
direct request
Okay.
from the food pantry. That is something that I have heard about, and so I just thought I'd bring it up.
Maybe
Oh.
we could look into it this month?
We
You
could, I
want
was gonna
to-
just say that to do it as a budget action doesn't do anything to help the pantry in
No.
short order. You know, we're talking about a January implementation, right? But if the board wishes to have a more immediate discussion, like on the agenda specifically at your next meeting, there's the appropriate place to discuss it, and then we can be prepared to talk about
Yeah.
potential sources or approaches.
So can I make that request that we bring it to the next meeting?
Yep. we can do that.
If,
Okay.
I guess, Kristen, if she wants
Yeah,
to get the consensus
do
of the
it.
board for that,
what do you guys think? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I think it's,
Yeah.
I think it's a fine idea to talk about, but what are they specifically, you know, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know, how much do they need? You know, as we go forward, you know, what's gonna make an impact? Is $12,000 gonna make that impact? You know, it seems like this is a consistently growing community. Every time, you know, we hear about this, you know, it goes up from 800 to 1,000 to, you know, and these are challenging times, I agree, but how can we make the impact, I guess, is, you know, as we move forward.
If you do wish for this on the agenda, I would wish to reach out to the food pantry and ask them to assist in providing that answer to you at your meeting. So I'm right.
Yes.
I think that would be an expectation.
All right. We'll look into it for the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right. I have no questions about the budget, but you know, strong, wholehearted thank you for all of the work that everyone's done to get us to this point. It's a tough year anytime we have inflationary years. This is a big process, no matter how good or tough the economy is. And I just really appreciate everyone's work going into this. So with that, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution approving the 2026 Village of Waunakee budget and 5-year equipment replacement plan.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you very much.
Oh, there's a
We have a
second
second
motion.
Second motion.
I will make the
okay.
motion to approve the resolution approving the levying of property taxes for the 2025 tax year, 2026 budget year for the Village of Waunakee.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Thank you for catching that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to levy our taxes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Renee. It's a big process. All right, next up, business item 1, discuss and take action on sustainable Waunakee plan.
All right, I will introduce this. So about a year ago, the village hired MSA to put together a sustainability plan for the village. This was from a recommendation of the Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee. So this past year, MSA has been working closely with staff and the committee to put together this plan that's proposed today. A lot of work went into this, including public input and discussions, staff review, et cetera. Vanessa will go into a lot of that. And so we're really excited to bring this plan to you today. And I will turn it over to Vanessa at MSA, who's going to give a presentation.
All right, thank you. And welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. Just gonna wait for we can pull the slides.
Awesome.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Vanessa Abu Arb. I work at MSA Professional Services. I'm an assistant planner and the lead planner on this project. This project, I hold it very dear to my heart because this is the base of my specialization in urban planning. So I'm really excited to be having this conversation with you tonight. So today I'll focus on 5 main points, that being the introduction, the what, the why, and how is the plan organized. The second being the planning process. What's the timeline that we adopted for this plan? The community engagement activities that we did, from survey to pop-ups and stakeholder interviews. The action plan, explaining the framework that we used, as well as going through one sample element. And then finally, the implementation, which focuses on collaboration, tracking, and adaptation. So those 5 points are the 5 main chapters of the report. So starting with the introduction, the plan first was created to guide village efforts to promote a healthy and resilient environment for all who live, work, and play in Waunakee. The plan's goal is intended to foster a thriving community and physical landscape while preserving shared resources for future generations. Now, there's multiple ways to define sustainability. If we run a Google search, there's probably thousands of definitions out there. So it was very important to define the approach that this plan is adopting. And what's important to note is that this plan adopts a whole systems approach, which means it doesn't just focus on environmental sustainability. It's one lens, but it also focuses on the people, so the health and the well-being, as well as the profit, which is the economic resilience in this case. Next, please. Now, why are we having this conversation tonight? Why are we doing this plan? First of all, as mentioned before, the ad hoc committee was formed, and one of the main focuses and the goals is to have this conversation, have this plan, and create this guiding document for the village. And the interest was initially to look at village operations. So when you look at the actions and at the recommendations, you can note that primarily we're trying to see what the village can control to make the community more sustainable. The second point is that Dane County's expected growth. This is based on the latest data shared by the Department of Administration, and definitely Waunakee being here in this location specific, it's going to capture this growth. So how are we going to take advantage of the growth, but also mitigate the spillover effects that it might have on the resources and on the community's character? The third being local support and interest, primarily from the high school students. So this project really was brought by the high school students, and I had conversations with them, learned a lot about their passion, their interest, and what they want to see in their community, because it's the resources that they will be using in the future, and that's why we're talking about this tonight. So there's great local support and interest, and definitely this plan hopes to ensure that all the residents have access to resources. And last point is to build on the recent local and regional momentum. In sustainability planning, there's a multiple of reports, but primarily we focus on those 3 because they have direct implication on Waunakee. The first being Dane County Climate Action Plan, which was drafted in 2020 or adopted in 2020. The Municipal Energy Plan, which is a report we use primarily for data because it was created by 7 communities, and one of them is Waunakee. So it really looked at village operations and village-owned buildings and seeing how changing some energy models or changing fixtures, etc. What's the implication of that on the energy use and energy efficiency? So we really relied heavily on the data from that report. And then the third being the Village of Waunakee Sustainability Report in 2023, which was really the beginning and the start of this conversation. So how is this plan organized? The core focuses on 6 elements or 6 themes, which are energy, transportation, waste, water, land use, and community well-being. And every element is organized the same exact way. So it has a vision statement, indicators, goals and performance targets, action plan, and then programs, projects, and initiatives. And I will be explaining those in a few. For the planning process, the project was developed over 4 main phases. In the first phase, we had our kickoff meeting and we started to talk about the baseline assessment. What are the data that we want to include? And definitely there was a lot of lengthy conversations with village staff and with the committee. There was a lot of thoughts that were brought into this process. So we tried to pick data that are easily accessible, data that we can, like if we're trying to update this plan in 5 years, we want to be able to update the data that we have in the tables. So all of those conversations happened, and that's when we started the baseline assessment. And then in the second phase, we moved forward with the matrix development, so putting the final touches, removing some data that we felt didn't make sense or that was really hard to, to receive, etc. We hosted the online survey and got a first set of feedback from the public, and then we did hold our ad hoc committee meeting where we went through all of the public engagement activities that we were planning to do, as well as going through the baseline assessment. In phase 3, which is over this summer, we attended the pop-ups at Waunakee and Waunaboom. We did the stakeholder interviews. We did our second ad hoc committee meeting where we presented the public engagement results, and we start to have conversation about the goals for the metrics that we are proposing. And then we finalized the draft and the targets. And then finally, with this phase, which we're currently at, we did our third ad hoc committee where we presented the final draft of the plan, of course, which included all of the feedback. And then we had the public comment period and tonight hoping for plan adoption. For the community engagement, so as I've said, there was 3 main activities: survey, pop-ups, and stakeholder interviews. First, with the survey, we received 130 total responses. The survey focused on 2 main things. First, getting feedback on the community's priorities when it comes to actions and visions. So we had the 6 elements with a list of actions, list of visions, and we got to understand what's the priority of the community. I just listed some of them here, but definitely the report shows all of the actions and visions. And then for the second part, which is shown in the graph here, there was a question about the projects that are already being done, or the people are planning to do those projects, or they're interested in doing, just to also get kind of a sense of the interest of the community. The second are the pop-ups. So we did attend the Wanafest and the Waunaboom. The total was 1,436 votes. So we did interact roughly with 479 people. And the question was, what do you want to see more of in your community? So people put the pom-poms in the jars, and that's kind of a way that we can quantify the votes. And we got to see what's their interest also in terms of sustainability priorities, projects, etc. And the third is the stakeholder interviews. So we did stakeholder interview at the Senior Center with students from Waunakee High School and with the Waunakee Neighborhood Connection. Here I just tried to summarize the themes that we talked about. Definitely the summary is in the report, but 2 recurring themes happened in all of the 3 conversations that we had, specifically when it came to transportation and mobility, having safer trails and routes, and then community engagement and communication, wishing for or hoping for a newsletter and for being better informed about sustainability efforts in the community. Now for the action plan, starting with the plan framework. So you'd notice that there's 3 words that keep on repeating in the plan, and those are indicators, targets, and actions. The indicators are measurable aspects of village operations. They can be assessed over time to determine the performance. For the targets, they are desired improvements towards which the village should strive. We did set those benchmarks based on national sustainability benchmarks, so best practice, based on conversations we've had with the ad hoc committee, and definitely based on village capacity. So we had drafts and then drafts and then drafts. So it was multiple drafts of targets. We wanted to make sure that we're dreaming, but also that those dreams are achievable. And then when it comes to actions, there are specific steps and initiatives to help the village achieve the set targets and visions. Now, this is a sample element. So this is the energy element. As you can see, every element starts with background information. Why is it important to talk about this? What's happening in the US and locally? And then what's the vision that Waunakee wants and hopes to see in the community in the future? Next, please. And then the second page, you will see the energy indicators. So those are the tables that I was talking about. So that's the baseline assessment. And then those are the goals that we set together with the ad hoc committee. And definitely they were also derived from the public engagement. So the whole process was really like it went hand in hand. Some of the benchmarks that we use were highlighted in the indicator notes. So those are the best practices and the national benchmarks. And then to achieve those goals, there's a 3 set of short-term, midterm, and long-term actions. Definitely, we prioritize what we think is feasible immediately. Those were the conversations that the village staff had, and were very helpful. So that's how we were able to kind of put them in those sections. And then the last part of the chapter, if you can go to the next slide, please. It's a list of current and potential projects, programs, initiatives, and partnerships that could support the village in making those actions feasible. And then finally, with the implementation chapter, so as I've said, the implementation chapter focuses on 3 main points. It's important to note that this is not a comprehensive plan, so this is not a legally binding document, but nonetheless, it's a guiding document for the village in the next couple of years. And it was important to note that to make all of those efforts happen, it's important to focus on collaboration, collaborating between all of the different village departments with the local organizations, businesses, and the community itself. It's also important to note that this plan is not an adaptation plan. So to make it more holistic as an effort, it's also recommended to look at adaptation plans, which means how are we prepared or making sure that we're prepared for severe weather events, stuff like that. Like how are those events not impacting our community, or how are we able to deal with those events when they happen? And then the second recommendation is to look at the greenhouse gas inventory study as well, because this is not part of the scope of this project or this report. And then finally, to look at this plan as a living document. This should not be treated as a static document. Technologies change, needs changed. We should really look at this plan on a regular basis, see what sort of needs change, what sort of goals need to adapt as well. And for that reason, the third point is regular tracking. So we do recommend that annually the village departments will submit brief updates summarizing actions taken and progress made toward relevant goals, and every 4 to 5 years, a comprehensive progress report to be published evaluating outcomes from all the focus areas. Thank you. So if you have any questions, really happy to answer.
All right. With that, let's open it for questions, and let's start with you, Erin.
Sounds good. Just a big thanks, Vanessa, for all your work on this. I really appreciate the way you worded things and wrote things. I think it's really based in science, and I appreciate the whole systems approach. I think that aspect does help prepare us to be resilient. I think that's one of the end goals, at least for me. And as I consider the next, I'm 28, like 50 years of my life, and we see these crazy weather events and loss of natural resources. So I appreciate the way that you really prioritized that. And I think the indicators are really great things that we can actually track, and I think are really based in science, and also take a holistic look at the well-being of our community. So I really just appreciate your work. And I got to ask a lot of my questions at our committee meetings, but thank you for sharing your talents.
Thank you, Erin. And let's ping pong. Sam, can we go to you next?
Yeah, there's a lot of, thank you for your work. There's a lot of what I would say are really excellent elements to this plan. A lot of things that we were considering doing anyway. It really aggregates them nicely in one document. Obviously, there's other things that we have to consider, like, how some of our neighborhood covenants are written, like with solar installations on people's roofs. Obviously, there have been issues that have been fairly well publicized both here and in Westport in the past. And sort of piggybacking off some of the CDA comments earlier, it does touch on here, and I think it's more to note for the folks who are concerned about housing, and we've had a lot of recent discussion about the zoning code and so forth. We are going to rewrite it, but folks need to understand that there's a process. We have an adjacent town that's incorporating. We have a comp plan to get through. I think everybody in this room would agree that our zoning code is outdated and it has conflicts with red tape, and it can be better, but it's not something you can fix overnight either.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Chris, can we go to you?
So this is really my first time since being back on the board that we've had a lot of sustainability discussion. I wasn't part of that, so my comment would be that I'm fully supportive. And I'm looking at it from a holistic standpoint, not knowing what's all been discussed already. But when we talk about housing, to Sam's comment, I believe it's Dane County, but we were at a meeting while I was off the board, that they wanted to add 270 houses, I believe, per year in Waunakee, which is over double, almost triple what we typically do in a year. And the resources that will go towards doing that. We have to look at sustainability, whether it's water to materials to all the different facets of that. If that's a choice that we make to go to that much housing in our community, but we are at a point in the watershed too that it's important that we're doing the right things here in Waunakee. So I'd say thank you for your work in reviewing things. There's just so much really good information. I'm glad you had the input that you were able to get. It's always nice to get more, just like our budget tonight. It would have been great to have more than 3 people here to talk about our budget. Outside in the community, it's the more information we get and can bring in, it helps us to make these decisions as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Jack.
Well, I'm a new member of the board. Want to thank you for this report. You guys did a great job. And I think, there's some things that I'm supportive of sustainability. I think as the comments have been brought out, we've got to look at our resources and so forth. But I think the other thing we've got to do is make sure that we're not creating more problems, as we go forward. I guess, when I look at some of the things in here, explore adopting a residential conservation ordinance, when you sit down and say, okay, now before I sell my house, do I have to upgrade it to the standards that we put into the ordinance? We're already talking about housing affordability, and then, are we making it less affordable, making it a little bit more of a challenge, to bring things into perspective? I guess, and I've got several different things, but one of the things we're talking about is creating, incentives for more people to buy e-bikes and scooters and so forth. And we're already having a challenge. And now we put more people on these units. And yes, we can sit there and teach them and do some education. But where we're running into the challenges isn't necessarily guys like me, because I don't want to get hurt. It's the younger kids that are using these for entertainment and also getting around. So I think, as we go through this, I think we have to look at, yes, we want sustainability, but we have to be practical, about sustainability as we move forward.
All right. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack. I'll ask some questions and then Joe and Nyla, I'll go to you guys if that's okay. Since you're our longest serving members on the committee. So just a couple of clarification points on page 163. And I read it 3 or 4 times, 163 of the packet. I'm not sure which page of the sustainability report it is. It said any proposal to add lanes to a 2-lane roadway will be evaluated for a center turn lane. And I wasn't sure if it was for bicycles or vehicles. I assume it's for bicycles, but it was disconnected from the bicycle section.
That's true. I mean, it is, I think we meant for the vehicles, but that's something that we can discuss. But practically when adding this lane, it's for safety reasons for the vehicles to be in a separate lane and not be waiting in a lane with continuous traffic behind that car. So it is for the vehicle.
Oh, for the vehicle. Okay. Okay. And then there is a note in there to achieve 50% renewable energy by 2050 and 100% renewable energy by 2060. We're dependent on WPPI for our energy consumption. Is there any discussion in the plan, or was there discussion at the committee level about
Absolutely.
that relationship or that reliance?
Yes, so this one was based on the Dane County, actually. So we followed the goals that they were proposing, and we did have this conversation with the ad hoc committee to see if it's a steady pace, if we feel it's too fast or it's too slow. So it was a question asked in the survey shared with the committee, and it was also a question shared in the survey. So we did also get the feedback from the community if they feel it's a good kind of approach or not.
Okay.
I can add an additional point. We did chat with Tim over at the utility as well as Clint Cry with WPPI, and it is possible to start moving in that direction. We have to, I don't exactly understand how it works, but we can buy power from WPPI that's specifically more renewable. It's something that the city of Sun Prairie has done. So that is one option for moving in that direction. There's a cost to ratepayers to do that. And so that's definitely a discussion, a bigger discussion that would need to be had, but that is an option to move in that direction.
Okay. Did Tim feel like 50% by 2050 is realistic?
I don't know if we had that discussion. I think that's a good goal to have, and that's something we'll have to talk about, staff internally on how we meet that goal and what changes can be made to do that.
All right, and then last question, on 179, page 179 of the packet, they talk about community well-being indicators. So items number 5 and number 6 are school district items. They're in regarding involvement of 8th graders and school lunches, subsidized school lunches. So just wondering if is the committee having a conversation with the school district about some of those things, or is that just a general articulation of a goal?
It is definitely a general articulation. We did reach out for them for the data, and we did have the conversation with the students. We do also have, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a teacher also on the committee, correct? So we do have kind of conversation with stakeholders in the school, but not necessarily with the school district itself. But also I wanted to clarify something on the energy note. The data that are the reduction of the electricity and the gas, those came based on the WPPI report. So to achieve that goal, they're actually related to each other. So definitely the WPPI report was brought. But just to clarify which data came from where.
I was only on the committee long enough to like get up to what ideas might be and not actually the information behind it. So thank you for answering those questions. And Jack, more questions?
I guess just to expand on your comments there, this is the Waunakee Village report, and I brought this up at the committee meeting that I went to. And, I think if the school district wants a sustainability, they should be putting a sustainability plan together, for the school district, because, some of these things have budget implications, and, we're the village, and we're telling the school district that, hey, we adopted this, and now, you have to, sign up. And so I think, there's a delineation in my mind, between governmental bodies.
Right. Thanks, Jack. And so I'm done with my questions. I'll turn it to you, Joe, and then Nyla next.
I would like to say thank you to MSA and to the committee as a whole. I know there was a lot of work that went into this, a lot of discussions, certainly a ton of reaching out to the community, and got a lot of great information back that way. The two things that I've got, I don't know are specific to this plan, but really it's where do we go from here? What are our next steps? And what is the future of that committee? So I don't know that those are things to be addressed in this particular context, but something that I think we need to look at going forward.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And Nyla, as chair.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. And I want to thank all those department heads and departments that sat down with Vanessa and discuss the goals and help come up with those goals. Because it doesn't do any good to dream if it isn't possible to do. And I know that all of you did a good job on that. One thing I would like to address, we do have Elizabeth Hake, who is a high school teacher. She's a new member on the committee. And we have two students who began as high school students who are now college students who are very enthusiastic on the committee. Jack, the one thing I'd like to address is the Waunakee schools are part of the village of Waunakee. We're not trying to push anything on them. We want to sit down and talk with them and hopefully work with them to perhaps to have the discussion and see if they'd like to work, set goals to work toward. Anything such as this takes a lot of people working on it from a lot of different avenues. And I think that's very important. So thanks everyone who has given input for this. It is much appreciated.
Can I
Yeah.
rebuttal?
Yes, yes, yep. So.
Well, I think, Nala, you're absolutely right. They're part of the school district, part of the community. But I think we're not going out to businesses and saying, hey, we want you to do this. And the school system is a separate entity. And, businesses are a separate entity. I'm for sustainability, but we have to be, cautious of how we start dictating what people are going to do. And one of the things in the report, we say we want a smoke-free park. How are we going to monitor that?
Oh,
All
I happened.
Go ahead,
Just
Erin.
briefly,
Go
because
ahead, Erin.
I guess I talked about this a bit at the committee meeting, but I like the concept that this is a living document. And I think our intent, from my memory, or at least, when I think, why did we even hire MSA, do this ad hoc committee? The concept of living document is, right, a board, and the version of this board that exists in 30, 40, 50 years can say, okay, this was a starting point. And there's other things the village has been doing, the school district, residents, but for us as this body and the 7 people right now to say these are the goals that we think are important, and there's things that technology that's not been invented and X, Y, and Z that we will have to be updating this and we'll have to be working with people. But I think if this can push us to collaborate more and to hold the next iterations of this group to say, why are we even having to do this, like what got us to this point, we don't need to dwell on all that, but like, where are we going from here? Because these are actual impacts to our community. And I think just like, my intent here is not to be telling businesses or dictating what anyone is doing. I think just saying this is something that we think is important and we value, these 6 indicators to our community so that in 80 years, people can live here in a healthy way and do whatever they want to do and, have big dreams, like Nyla said. So I don't think we're trying to dictate, but I like this back and forth. We should talk about sustainability every meeting.
Right, Nyla?
I'd like to give a couple examples from memory lane many years ago when I was in high school, and I used to go and work at the basketball games and the wrestling matches. I worked the concession stand, and during breaks, everybody'd come out to the cafeteria and they'd have their smokes. They'd sit there and smoke, and nobody thought anything of it. I was on the yearbook staff, and I went to take pictures of the school board, and they all had their ashtrays there smoking. Now, we may be laughing, but things change with education, with technology, with open minds, with working together. Things change. This is not dictating to anyone that they have to do anything. It's saying we as a community, as a board, are willing to work, to move ahead and do what we need to do to be a healthy, strong community. Thank you.
All right.
The other point
All
that
right.
I would make is that there's a difference in this plan between indicator goals and action items that are tangible to actually done. We put in there as a goal, yeah, we'd love a smoke-free park. We'd love whatever. But when I look at action items, the only cases in there where we're telling existing businesses and the school district what to do are things we agree on. Develop a program to help support our small business community and develop an e-bike and e-scooter ordinance that we've heard from so many people about and collaborate with the school district on improving that. I don't see anything in here in terms of the actual outcome items of this plan where we're telling the school district or existing businesses in this village what to do.
Right. Other comments? Go ahead.
Let me take you down memory lane. I used to, as I was a young business traveler, I used to jump on an airplane and get a non-smoking seat right behind the smoking section. So I can take you down memory lane, but I think one of the things that I've seen in my experience with government is, you know, we can sit around here as a body and say, hey, these are some aspirations, and you know, once you approve a document like this as aspirations, and we want to move towards that, it becomes the law of the land, because people over different bodies as you move forward, and this body changes from time to time. So those are, you know, some of my concerns as you go forward. And all I'm saying is we got to be careful as we move forward.
Right. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments, Chris?
I'll make a comment. I don't know if it's a good comment or not, but I think as I'm listening to everybody, we're all on the same page. And I think Jack being from a former school board member, coming from a little different perspective, that he hears things from the school board, maybe about the village board, and the village board hears things about the school board. And sometimes we're not always aligned. And I think it's important from my perspective that we are aligned with the school district, because the school district does not only represent Waunakee, this can expand out into all the district, whether it's Westport to Springfield to Vienna to Middleton, whoever, where people are living in our school district. It's not just Waunakee, but I think it's important that we have open dialogue and good dialogue with them, that they're on the same page with what we're trying to all accomplish.
Absolutely.
Correct.
All right. Nyla?
I move to adopt the proposed sustainability Waunakee plan.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you to everyone who worked on it, who came tonight, who are online watching. Vanessa, thank you guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate it
we
so
have a-
much.
We have another part to
We
this.
do. And
Let's see,
which page are we on?
I don't know what page.
We are-
258.
Thank you.
What page?
And we are now on discuss and take action, 258. Discuss and take action on resolution to join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition.
All right. So a representative from the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition, WLGCC, came to the last Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee and provided some information on this organization. It's a membership organization for local governments, no cost to join, and it provides resources, peer-to-peer information sharing, webinars, training, et cetera, for local governments trying to do sustainability work. So the committee thought it would be a great opportunity for the Village of Waunakee to join, to start, getting more information from our peer communities in Wisconsin.
All right. So I will say something on behalf of the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition. They are a great resource of peers. It's a peer network. They do a lot of good work. What questions or comments do we have on this? Let's start with you, Sam. We'll go down the
I don't have
road.
any questions. It's other than, yay, it's free.
All right, Jack,
No questions.
Nyla?
I think it would be great to join. There isn't a cost to this, but it also brings us to the table with other groups who are discussing this, and it makes it so we don't have to be trying to invent the wheel all over again.
Joe?
Price is right.
All right, Chris?
All good.
Aaron?
Yeah, I appreciate the presentation they gave, and I think staff said that it seemed manageable to their workload, and I think that is the cost to us, but I think it's an investment. And I would make a motion to approve the resolution to join the Wisconsin Local Government Climate Coalition.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item number 3, discuss and take action on migration from Microsoft commercial tenant to Microsoft government tenant. That's to you, Jared.
Yes. Well, I gotta get my cameras adjusted. All right. All right, good evening. So what we have here tonight is an IT project that we had budgeted for 2025 to migrate from what's known as the Microsoft commercial tenant, which we are currently on, to migrate to the Microsoft government tenant. In layman's terms, these are how Microsoft categorizes us as a client. So the short version is we basically need to switch to the government tenant in order to be compliant for on a number of factors, particularly with the police department, in order for them to have access to their CJIS system, the Criminal Justice Information Services, as well as the new record management consortium that they have joined. They are essentially, well, they are requiring that we join the government tenant. We've also, for a couple of years now, identified some other benefits to it, particularly as it relates to responding to FOIA requests or open records requests. It's just that the way that the government tenant is structured, it's with obviously government in mind. So records are backed up and made more accessible for the purposes of open records requests. So that will make life for me and Carla substantially easier. Just with how we respond to FOIA requests, because right now with the way that the commercial tenant is set up is not at all with open records and pulling old emails in mind. So it is an incredibly cumbersome process that takes way longer than it needs to. Through no fault of anyone, it's just the way that the commercial tenant's set up, it's incredibly inefficient. So the bad news is that we budgeted $5,000 for this project. Back when we thought we were essentially going to have Kevin, who is here tonight, we were going to set him aside for, a weekend or something. He would just sit back in the server room for however long it took and migrate things over. And the $5,000 was his project time. However, as we started this project, it became readily apparent that there was way more to this project than we realized. We basically need an outside vendor who specializes in this sort of thing, of which there are very few in the country, to do this, number one. And number two, we also need a very expensive application in order to migrate every user's data over to the government tenant. The application alone is about $57 and change per user, and we have originally our list showed about 360 some users. We've gotten that down about half. But that's obviously, some quick math. That's a big chunk of change. So Kevin has been working last week particularly hard to find any sort of way we can trim this cost down. But what we are asking for tonight, what we are comfortable committing to, is that a cost of not to exceed $42,000. I do think that we will be under that. But I don't know anything as far as for a fact what that number will be. So that's the lowest I can guarantee. So if you have any questions on the technical side, Kevin is here to answer those. I can try to answer any other questions.
All right, with that question, so Nyla?
Jared, I heard you say that you kind of weaned down the number of, how did you do that?
Great question. So what we noticed when we looked through the list of users was that it was automatically adding. How Microsoft works is that if you have people who you are frequently emailing, it would kind of add them as a user by default. So we had a lot of people with personal emails that are not employees, are not board members, who were flagged as users in this initial roster. And so when we looked at that, we're like, wait a minute, we don't need to carry them over. So just, every one of those that we could eliminate, that's $57 right there. In addition to that, if there were employees who have been gone for so long, they're past the open records laws requirements. So in other words, beyond 7 years, we don't need to carry those over either. So that's how we were able to cut it down basically in half.
Okay,
So
thank
yeah,
you.
great question.
All right, and let's go counterclockwise. Jack? Questions?
No, no questions.
Sam?
I am curious because I know Vienna and the Village of Dane got it. Have you explored, I understand there's grant funding available for switching to a .gov domain. I believe they got $2,000 to $3,000 each for that.
Yes, so that wouldn't be directly related to this
Yeah,
project.
but it's
That would be related
yeah.
to one of the other things we need to, if we want to switch to a .gov domain, which we are in the process of doing, we need to have this done as well. Carla can probably speak more to the grant opportunities there, but yes, we have identified pursuing that with our .gov transition.
I don't know what grant specifically that is, but the one through Wisconsin Elections Commission,
$600.
600. So I'm
I
happy to look
believe they
into that.
got Homeland Security money, but Kathy
Go
and
through, like,
Vienna would
CISA?
know and explain that to you. They got, I think the two of them together, it was 2,100, but they got minimum 1,500.
Yeah, I can look into that
Yeah.
tomorrow with them.
Great, Aaron?
No questions.
Chris?
Non-techie here, one with paper that's up here. How many hours are we gonna save from a personnel standpoint
And
with these requests?
Record request?
What I'm getting at is upgrading technology with this process. I'm assuming it's gonna reduce employee hours that they're spending on this, or maybe I'm wrong.
So that's, yes, but it's kind of hard to quantify. So it's the only area you'll see a reduction in staff time is going to be response to FOIA requests, and in that FOIA request specifically for emails, which is most of them. I feel the way that the process works now, I can comfortably say we will shave off at least 75% of staff time responding to those FOIA requests because of how long it takes to do it on the commercial tenant model. In previous jobs, I've done hundreds of FOIA requests under the government tenant model, and I just got to, shake the rust off a little bit, but it's very quick and easy to do, to pull the records. I mean, we're talking a matter of hours instead of a matter of days to potentially weeks.
all right,
Great,
Great.
thank you.
Joe?
Techie here.
Mhm.
Yin and yang. So I don't, from the budget standpoint, I think it all makes sense. I think we'll save enough effort to make up any concerns here. The only thing that I really thought about was we've got a lot of different committees who do not have Waunakee currently.com addresses. If we move over to this model, is there any impact to that, or how does that play in this, if at all?
Yep, another really good question. So we thought about that as well, because our initial reaction at looking at some of those personal emails was like, oh, these were like, for example, like plan commission members. So once they're on the government tenant, if they have a Waunakee email, which the plan commission will get, that'll be totally searchable under this. Now, for any other committee or commission that doesn't have a Waunakee email, i.e. they're still using their personal emails, this doesn't make a difference on that one way or the other, because we're still reliant on them if we get a FOIA request. So for example, if I served on the Board of Appeals or something like that, and you used my personal email to communicate the agenda packets and all that with me, you'd have to come to me anyway and be like, hey, we got a FOIA request. We need you to pull all the emails under these parameters. That's not going to change with this. The only way that would change is if we got Waunakee emails for every single committee and commission member.
So.
Yeah, could we have you go to the podium and press the button so the mic is green? That way they can hear you online, and we'll make sure we have you preserved in posterity.
I have a green mic, so I must be on. Joe, to add to what Jared said, if we had them moved over today, we'd have to pay the $57 to get them moved over. So in essence, we're actually saving money in that process.
Okay. To sort of follow up on that, would this make getting those individual email addresses for all the committee members either more economically feasible or anything of that nature? Yeah, that'd be a whole different discussion, obviously, at the board level.
Yeah, I don't think it would be any more or less economically feasible than if we were to do it now. It would just be ill-advised to do it now under the commercial tenant.
Sure. Okay. That's all my questions.
Chris?
Just one question to that. So our plan commission members, us, as we go off the board, off the commissions, so on and so forth, somebody else comes in, are we then for 7 years paying for the existing past for the $57 and then 57 for the new, just to be?
So the $57 is only for the actual migration. So you pay it once, we move you, and then it's done. So there won't be anybody else moving after we do this initial effort, which we're going to try to get done by the end of the year. And then it's only licensing. And then when you leave the board, we archive your email and your account. So that's not a paid subscription. It's just out there in an archived state so that it can be searched for FOIA requests.
Okay.
All right, Nyla?
So what happens as we get new members, new board members?
Typically, well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you pay the fees? Do you just pay again, or are they just added on, or how does that work?
We try to recycle the licenses so that we don't have to continually add them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Joe? No?
No, I'll just make a motion.
All right,
Okay.
go for it.
I move to approve the migration to the Microsoft government tenant for a cost not to exceed 42,000.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you all. Yeah. All right, and thanks for keeping on top of that. Next up, discuss and take action on new signage for the Waunakee Depot building. This is for the Chamber of Commerce office.
All right, I'm sharing my screen. The village owns the Depot building, as you all know, and the Chamber of Commerce has an office there. A year or two ago, they repainted the whole building and took down the old signs, which were in pretty rough shape. They would like to put up new signs, including the kind of historic Waunakee train depot sign that you see in the black, as well as some signage that tells the public that this is where the Chamber of Commerce is located. So they have these signs proposed in discussions with village staff. The village can cover $1,500 for the historic Waunakee signs, and the Chamber of Commerce is going to cover the rest of the cost for the signs. Because this is a village-owned building, I wanted to get the village board's input on these signs and get the approval.
All right, so with that, let's go around the room and start with you, Joe.
I think it's a fine concept. Personally, the Chamber of Commerce sign feels like it needs a little more something to me, but I'm okay with it.
All right, Chris?
I'm going to abstain from this one since I sit on the chamber board.
All right, Erin?
Yeah, I think it's a fair upgrade, and I like that they have the nod to the historical signage of the depot. I don't know if this is way too petty personal, but I feel like that sign on the top left should say Welcome Center and Chamber Office, because I think welcome is like, it's a more grand word, but that's also just me being very nerdy about copywriting. So I may be terribly wrong, but I think it flows better.
All right.
That's just my take.
All right, so you want Welcome Center on the top?
Yeah, I think it's like a little more like welcome and the Chamber Office.
Okay.
Because we are welcoming to Waunakee.
All right. Sam?
I don't have any questions. I think that's a reasonable suggestion because obviously the majority of the walk-in traffic that they probably would get were people that maybe are visiting the community versus people that, the people that are going to go to the chamber office, they know it's the chamber office anyway, so.
All right, Jack?
I think it's a fine addition.
All right, Nyla.
I think Aaron's idea was great. I wouldn't have thought of it, but I think it's a good idea. So perhaps the chamber would just change the way that's on there. And other than that, it looks good.
Right, do you think it'd be open to that, Lauren?
Yes,
Right.
I think so.
All right, I think it's great. And with you, Joe, like the Chamber of Commerce could use a little bit more on the
Yeah,
right,
the
but
welcome
this
sign, I
up
think it
there.
looks great. The other one,
Kind of
seems
meshed a little
plain.
more with the one that's kind
Yeah.
of already
I leave it
there,
to
you know,
them,
but
though.
that's their deal.
Yeah,
The part we're
so-
approving looks great.
Yeah, so, all right, with that, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the Waunakee Area Chamber of Commerce to proceed with the purchasing and installing the proposed signage on the Waunakee Depot building with consideration to the comments made by the village board tonight.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the only time I didn't call for abstaining. Darn, I'm trying to trick you, Chris, maybe. All right, next item up, we have two items for closed session tonight. And do we have a presentation on number 6, discuss and take action on WPPA union contract? Or can we go straight into closed session for both of them?
5.
Okay. All right, so number 5, discuss and take action on negotiating a cooperative plan between the town of Westport, cities of Madison and Middleton, and the villages of DeForest and Waunakee. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.85 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Do we have an item to go into closed session for this one?
Move we convene in closed session.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion?
This
Seeing
needs a roll call.
Roll call vote, yeah.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Yes.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Jack Heineman,
Yes.
Sam Kaufman.
Yes.
All right, item number 6, discuss and take action on WPPA union contract. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.5 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Do we have a motion to go into closed session for this item?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Sam Kaufman,
Yes.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Chris Zellner,
Yes.
Joe Zisselsberger,
Yes.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Jack Heineman.
Yes.
All right, at 7:46, we will go into closed session. We will not be broadcasting this, obviously. If we have a motion that requires open session, we will come out of closed session into open session in order to make any subsequent motions that are required to be made that way. Those will not be videotaped, but we will report them in the minutes. So, all right, that.